National Signing Day is in the books, and once again, it's Alabama and Nick Saban on top. Despite coming off what they consider a down year, the Tide have the #1 class, and it's filled with 6 5-stars, helping to make it Saban's highest-ranked recruiting class ever. Safe to say Alabama isn't going anywhere anytime soon. A look at the top 10 classes in the country. Alabama far and away on top. The point total just shy of beating Texas A&M's mark from a year ago for the highest ever. Georgia reloads. They sit at 2, followed by Texas, sparked by the signing of top QB Arch Manning. Oregon in position to have just their 3rd top 10 class in the past 10 years. And then Notre Dame and Tennessee round out the top 10. Now joined by 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting, Andrew Ivins. Andrew, we have to talk winners and losers when you look at National Signing Day, because everyone's always wondered, did my team do good? Did they not do as well out in recruiting? When you look at the situation here, what were your biggest takeaways from the winners and then also some losers?
Well, we still got some time left, right? We got a few more announcements today. You have a 3-day signing window. It closes on Friday. So some schools are sweating right now. Miami, they're waiting to see what happens with the nation's #1 ranked corner, Cormani McClain. He was a big surprise not signing yesterday. He could sign today. Colorado's trying to get involved there. So just different things. Oregon had a massive day. They woke up number 14 in the rankings, went to bed number 7 in the rankings, flipped a top 247 quarterback, Austin Novosad from Baylor. We didn't really see that one coming. And then they went on a little spree there, getting Peyton Bowen, another top 247 prospect. He's a safety that was committed to Notre Dame. Now he's yet to sign with Oregon, but it sounds like he could sign with Oregon. And then Alabama, Nick Saban, we were all wondering, is this coming to an end soon, right? He's getting up there in the age, and he goes out and gets 2 of the top players from the state of Alabama right in his backyard, James Smith and Quay Russaw. And that gives him his 10th #1 ranked class in the past 13 years. How good is the class? They have 27 signees, all but one of them is a 4-star prospect. That one that isn't, 3-star kicker, who hit from 51 yards as a senior.
The situation there in Alabama, do you see it ever slowing down? How are they able to keep it going? And what was the biggest surprise there? Because they just really pulled away from Georgia in the class.
It'll be interesting to see what they do in the transfer portal, right? That's kind of free agency. There's some holes in that roster. And when I look at this group, you mentioned all the 5-stars they have committed. These kids are probably going to have to play. Them flipping on Tuesday, 5-star offensive tackle Caden Proctor from Iowa is a massive deal. And years prior, a couple of years ago, that kid gets stashed on the roster, but they need him to play right away. Caleb Downs, our #1 ranked safety, he's also headed to Tuscaloosa. Super high IQ football player. I think he's a day one guy that can make an impact. So I think with Alabama's class, it's actually a class that's going to have to play early on. And I think it could be the foundation for Saban to make another run at 1 or 2 of these college football playoffs.
Yeah, you have an article out on 247sports.com right now dissecting the winners and losers. And in that losers category, you have Notre Dame and Ohio State. Why is that?
Notre Dame, through the bulk of the cycle, they were sitting in the top 5 of the recruiting class. Marcus Freeman had done an excellent job taking over from Brian Kelly. He's great at relating with the kids, but on Wednesday and signing day, winners and losers, it wasn't a great one for Notre Dame. I mentioned Peyton Bowen, the top 247 safety, longtime Irish commit. He flips to Oregon. Now he hasn't signed. Talking to my guy Tom Loy, who is our insider on Notre Dame. Irish remain very optimistic, heading down these next 48 hours. And they also lost running back Jaden Lamar to Oregon. Shifting over to Ohio State, they entered the day hoping to land an elite pass rusher. They got Joshua Mickens in the boat, but they also lost out on Damon Wilson. And then they saw a corner, Kayan Lee, flip over to Auburn. And they have a guy that hasn't signed either, Jaden Bonsu. And Ryan Day had some interesting comments about him during his signing day press conference. It sounds like he might not end up a Buckeye.
Yeah, speaking of corners, the biggest one, the top recruit in the transfer portal, Travis Hunter, announcing that he's going to follow Deion Sanders and go to Colorado. How big of a boost is this for that Buffs program, trying to get something going and starting with those Louis bags that Deion's bringing with him over there?
Well, he was the most prolific defensive back and wide receiver when he was a senior coming out of Collins Hill High School there in Georgia. We called him wide receiver 1 and cornerback 1, and we saw him play little offense at Jackson State. I think him going to Colorado, and this isn't surprising. I mean, he was waiting until he got 100,000 YouTube subscribers, and it didn't take long for him to reach that number. I think he's a guy that can go two ways in the Pac-12. I think he can play offense, and I think he can play defense for them. And he's a polarizing recruit. I go back to when he was coming out, or I should say a polarizing name. As a recruit, you would go to these 7-on-7 tournaments and camps, and it was like the Beatles. There'd be other kids be like, oh, is that Travis Hunter? So everyone in the country now knows that he is at Colorado. I think that helps expand the brand. It makes it cool for some of these other high-profile recruits. You know, we saw some of them go to Jackson State with Coach Prime. Now I think they're going to follow him to Colorado. And again, I think he's going to be able to make an impact right away on both sides of the ball for the Buffs.
What type of impact is Coach Prime making in the recruiting scene? We know he wants to bring transfers, but freshmen, how is that situation looking as he tries to build things up?
I came into the day and everyone was kind of expecting some big splashes. Now they got Travis Hunter, so we got to give him credit for that, but it was a relatively quiet signing day. And you know, Deion didn't have a ton of time since he was hired. He had 2 recruiting weekends, 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out of the door. He's finishing things up at Jackson State. I mean, they got a ton of blue chip kids on campus, but none of them ended up really flipping over to Colorado. So I think we'll know more about what Deion's able to do in Boulder in this 2024 cycle when he has more of a runway. I mean, there isn't many high-profile recruits that have visited Boulder before. It's not like that was a school. I mean, Colorado has not ever had a class that's ranked higher than 35th in our rankings. So we'll see. I mean, I like the quarterback they got. They flipped this kid from Kansas, Casey Wiseman. I think he's a bit of a gamer, but 2024 will be our measuring stick. And again, like you said, they're going to crush it in the transfer portal. Kids want to go play for Prime.
Real quick, do you think Cormani McClain ends up at Colorado or elsewhere?
It's an interesting one. You know, talking to some people at Miami this morning, they remain optimistic, but they don't think they know what's going on there. And I think Alabama was by Cormani's school 2 weeks ago. I think that's a school you got to watch there. But it's really Miami, Colorado. And the crazy thing is, if you took Travis Hunter on one side of the field, put Cormani McClain on the other, I mean, how are you going to throw the football? So, and those guys both played for the same club 7-on-7 organization. Never together, but I do think they're friends. So right now, I think he sticks with Miami, but you know, the longer this thing drags out, the more I think the folks in Coral Gables are going to be nervous.
Yeah. Andrew Ivins, thank you very much for tapping in with us. National Signing Day behind us, but still time for kids to put that pen to paper. So for all the news and information to keep on tap with you, make sure you stay locked in with 24/7 Sports. They are on this 24/7. Find out how your team and how your favorite school is doing all year long.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.